Welcome back to another episode of Effortless Coding. My name is Sam and I'm glad that you've joined us in this new episode. In this particular episode, we are going to learn about how to format your text within your HTML document. We're going to talk about the B tag, we'll talk about the I tag, we'll talk about the strong tag, we'll talk about the mark tag, the cite tag, we'll talk about the EM tag, we'll talk about finally the DFN tag, which is basically the definition tag. So I want you to open your Sublime editor and your browser, as you can see on my screen, and I want you to type the following code on your Sublime editor. Then I will explain each as we move on. So the first thing I would want you to type is do a less than, and all this has to happen within the body tag. You don't type it outside. So do a less than sign, and then the letter B, and then a greater than sign, then type effortless coding, then close the B tag. Then I want you to save that page and go to your browser and refresh it, because I had already opened this particular HTML document on the browser. So once you do a refresh, you should be able to see the word effortless coding in bold. Now what this basically does is that the B tag makes the text bold without having to mark it as important. We do not recommend you to use B tag because it's always used as a last resort when no other tag is more appropriate, especially in HTML5 specification. So just know, yes, you can use it, but use it as a last resort. Now I want again to go back to your Sublime editor, same document. Underneath the B tag, I want you to type less than sign I, greater than sign, then write the word effortless coding, then less than sign /I, greater than sign, so that you close the I tag. Now I want you to save that and go back to your browser and refresh the page. You should actually be able to see effortless coding in italics, right? Now the I tag basically marks up text that is set off from the normal prose in a document, and the content inside it is always displayed in italics. Now people normally use the I tag to indicate a technical term, a phrase from another language, or a thought, or more, those things that might or might not be able to augur well with the current language that you're using. So but similar to the B tag, only use it as a last resort when the appropriate semantic element is not available. So do not be in a rush to use the I tag. There are other tags that you can use to format your text in HTML5. Now go back to the Sublime editor. Now let's go to another text formatting style called the EM. Now the EM is what we would recommend in place of the I tag. Personally, I use the EM in place of the I tag. Now underneath the I tag, I want you to do a less than sign, as you can see on my screen, EM, then / the greater than sign to close the opening tag. Then type effortless coding. Type effortless coding. And then close the EM tag, as you can see on my screen. Now, in practical sense, when you're pronouncing words, or when you're talking, there are those words that you always emphasize or put stress on. Those are the words that you should use the emphasis tag on. For example, when I say this is a must do, when I say this is a must do, the word must is actually emphasized, or more of the verbal stress has been given to the word must. So if you're to convert that to code, you will actually put the word must in between the emphasis tag. So I hope you've understood the context in which the EM tag is used. And similar to the I tag, the content inside an EM tag is typically displayed in italics. So always know that when you're formatting using the EM tag, you will always have content within it in italics. Now, I want you to save that document and go to your browser So you'll actually be able to see there's no much difference between these and the I tag, but in HTML5, this one is more preferable as compared to the I tag. Now go back to your Sublime editor. Let's go to the next text formatting style, which is strong. Remember, initially we started with the B tag. B basically means bold, but I told you you have to use it as the last resort. So the best option to use when you're coding in HTML5, always use this option that we want to use now. So type less than sign, the word strong, then greater than sign, and within it type effortless coding, then close the strong tag. Save that document and go to your browser and refresh. Now what you see on your browser, you can see actually the previous codes that you've done. The last line that you see is what has used the strong tag. So the content inside a strong tag, if you've done a strong tag for some content, the content will be defined or rather displayed in bold. So always know that. That's why we prefer strong to B when we are doing that. So in terms of HTML5 specification, it's always good to use the strong tag as opposed to the B tag. But if you really, there's a reason why you can't use the strong tag, then it won't hurt to still use the B tag. But remember, the strong tag basically is used to define text with strong importance. Now go back to your Sublime editor. I want you to type just below the strong tag. Let's go to the next text formatting style called mark. Now the mark tag basically, let me just explain what the mark tag does. When you go back to those days we used to grow up, when you read Bibles, there are places where our parents used highlighters on Bible verses. So this is now, when it comes to HTML coding, this will actually be denoted by the mark tag, or rather will be formatted by the mark tag. So type less than sign, the word mark, then greater than sign, and within that type effortless coding, then close the mark tag, save that document, and then refresh your browser. Always know that the mark tag will always display that black text with a yellow background in most browsers. The same way I explained the Bible analogy, the Bible verse highlighting. So refresh, as you can see on my screen, you should be able to see text that has been highlighted, black text with yellow background. So that is when we are using the mark tag. We also have the cite tag. Go to your Sublime editor. I'm sure you've seen citations on websites and all that. So to do citations, basically, to define, for example, the title of a creative work, like a book, a poem, a song, a movie, and all that, we always use the cite tag. Cite is C-I-T-E. So on your Sublime text editor under the mark tag, let's do the cite tag. Open the cite tag with a less than sign, the word C-I-T-E, cite, then the greater tag. Then write effortless coding, and then close the cite tag. All content that appears within a cite tag will always be rendered in italics, just the same way we did the EM and the I tag. But in this case, it will be specifically defining the title of creative work. So save that document, go to your browser and refresh. You should actually be able to see effortless coding in italic by using the tag cite. The final text formatting style that we'll deal with is called the definition tag, which is denoted by the abbreviation DFN. As you can see on my screen, there are 4 ways in which I'll teach you on how to use the definition tag. Now, the definition tag basically stands for the definition element, and it specifies a term going to be defined within the context. So whenever you use the definition tag, you must define it after you've closed the definition tag. You must define that particular term, and it must be within a parent tag. So a parent tag can be even a paragraph tag and all that. So you must start with, let's say, with a paragraph tag, and then do the definition tag. Within it, write the acronym or the abbreviation, then close the definition tag, and then continue within that p tag that we opened with the parent tag of this particular definition tag. Continue with the explanation, or rather the definition of that element. So we are going to use an example of effortless coding, or in short EC. So let's look at how the first way in which we can use, as you can see on your screen, the first way in which the term inside the definition tag can be used will be, as I've explained, write P, do a P tag. It must have a parent tag, and the nearest parent tag of the definition tag must also contain the explanation of the term. Always know that. So start with the P tag within the body section. Then, remember, this is the first way. I've told you there are 4 ways. Then immediately after closing the opening P tag, open the definition tag with less than sign DFN, as you can see on my screen, and a greater than sign. Then type EC, just capital E and capital C. Then close the definition tag by less than sign, greater than, then DFN. Then now finish the definition of EC. So say so type what you're seeing on the screen is a YouTube channel that focuses on coding. So once you've done that, put a full stop and close the P tag. Remember the parent tag, which was the P tag. So close it. That is the first way. So save the document, go to your browser, refresh. You should be able to see that in action. You should be able to see the definition tag in action. Now the second way, let's go back to our Sublime editor. The second way, we have to introduce the title. You remember when we were dealing with the abbreviation tag? For those people who have not watched the abbreviation tag, kindly click on the link above. When we defined any abbreviation or an acronym, we gave it a title attribute. And that title attribute had the full meaning of that abbreviation or acronym. So in this case, also from the definition, we can also use the title attribute. And in our example, since we are using EC, capital EC, within the title attribute, we'll give the full meaning of what EC is. And in this case, EC will mean effortless coding. So I want you to go back to your Sublime editor, type, open just below what we've just typed, type less than sign DFN space, title is equals to 2 double quotes, and within the 2 double quotes, I want you to type effortless coding, as you can see on my screen. Then once you've closed the opening definition tag, I want you to type the 2 capital letters EC. Then close the definition tag. And remember, as I told you, the definition tag must work within a parent tag. So I assume you had already written the P tag before the definition tag. So continue with the definition as we did in the previous one. So type is a YouTube channel focused on coding. Then end it with a P tag, a closing P tag. Save and go to your browser. Then refresh the page and see what you see now. Kindly hover on that EC title, that EC abbreviation. You should be able to see the full meaning of EC. The third way is by using the abbreviation tag. Remember, we talked about abbreviation tag, but now you will use the abbreviation tag inside the definition tag. So go to your Sublime editor. I will not talk about the parent item because by now I know you have to use that. So type opening P, then the definition tag, which is less than sign DFN, close the opening definition tag. Then now type the way we did in abbreviation, less than sign ABBR space title is equals to, then double quotes, then say within the double quotes write easy coding. Then once you've closed the opening abbreviation tag, type in capital EC, then close the abbreviation tag the way we did, and then also close the definition tag the way we've been closing. Then continue with the definition of EC. as we did in the previous examples, and close the p tag. Once you've done that, save, go to your browser, refresh. There shouldn't be any big difference between these and the previous example that we did. So there are two ways in which you can do the title, either within the abbreviation tag or just directly using the definition tag. Now lastly, which is somehow more complicated, sometimes you might need to refer. For example, you are on a website, and I'm sure you've gotten to this experience before. You're browsing through a website, and then within that website you find a term that has been highlighted, for example in blue, because it's a link. When you click on it, it takes you to the definition. It takes you to the definition of that term. So you might be reading a paragraph, then you find an abbreviation like EC. When you click on it, there is a specific place that had already been defined. There is a paragraph that was specifically set to define what EC is. So if you click on that, it will take you there. So this is what we are focusing on in terms of coding. If you want to apply this in your code, and we will use the ID attribute. So I want you to type this in your code. Of course, as I told you, definition tag must be within a parent. So open the paragraph tag, then also open the definition tag, as you can see on my screen. Before you close the opening definition tag, I want you to type an attribute called ID. In this case, it will be is equals to, and then do the two double quotes, then say EC hyphen def. So type EC hyphen def in small letters, EC hyphen def, then close the double quotes and close the opening definition tag. Then type the acronym EC in capital, then close the definition tag, then continue with the same explanation or the same definition and close the p tag. Then underneath it, let's create another p tag where now we'll be referring that definition to the top definition. We'll be referring that acronym to the top definition. So this is a new paragraph that somebody is reading way below, for example, the definition. Maybe they had not gone through the definition before. So we'll type the p tag, open the p tag, then we'll say, type the following: if you really want to learn coding, you need to visit EC. Before we do the EC, so just say, if you really want to learn coding, you will need to visit. Then, as you can see on my screen, then do an anchor tag, which is less than sign A, space, the href attribute, then is equals to, within the href attribute and within the double quotes within the href attribute, type hashtag. Remember I told you about linking two sections within the same page using the anchor tag. You have to use the hashtag and the ID attribute. So do a hashtag, then type EC hyphen definition, whatever we typed in the ID during that particular section, the paragraph where we defined or used the definition tag. So say hashtag EC definition, and then close those double quotes. Then close the opening anchor tag and say, type in capital EC, then close the anchor tag, and then finalize it with the word now, and then close the paragraph tag. So basically this means we've already defined our acronym or the term that we want to define way before this particular section. And if you really are interested in knowing the definition, once you click on that particular term, it will take you back to where the definition was done. Should you have any feedback with regards to this particular episode or any other episode so far, you can always reach us on all our social media channels. We are always available, as you can see on our screen. And for those people who might need our services, as I told you, we run a digital marketing agency. You can always call us on the number on the screen and we'll be able to be at your service. For those people who are watching our video for the first time, kindly remember to subscribe, share our videos. Until next time, kudos!